Hello! If you are new to this channel, welcome. If you have seen previous videos, welcome back. My name is Stephanie Lynn, and the goal of this channel is to help provide support either for new teachers or for experienced teachers who are feeling burned out, to let people know that they're not alone, and to hopefully, as I said, help people survive the school year. I just came in from school and I'm filming this, early in the week because a coworker and I had a conversation today that I felt I wanted to touch on a little bit more. And it has to do with, we came up with about 10 mistakes that it seems like every new teacher makes or every student teacher makes during the time that they are student teaching. So here we go with 10 very common mistakes made by student teachers and new teachers alike. Okay, so number one is new teachers and student teachers will be too nice. It never fails that as far as discipline goes, that's a challenge for both new teachers and student teachers. It's very difficult to put yourself out there and work on controlling the class when you're actually still unsure about your abilities to be in the classroom. And so most new teachers and student teachers tend to be on the more lenient side. And if you look at teaching styles and I guess disciplinary relationship styles, you have the sentimentalist and you have the warm demander. And most young teachers, most new teachers coming in of whatever age, tend to be on the sentimentalist side. And I'll go into that in more depth in a later video, but basically you tend to have pity on some of the students who are facing more challenging life situations. And that isn't always good for the student. It's good to help those students and to give them a hand up, but you don't want to give them a crutch. And you don't want to make things too easy for them. I know that that is what your heart tells you, but again, in many ways, being challenged in the classroom where it is safe to fail, safe to make mistakes, that is going to build up the confidence of those students more than anything else you can do. So a lot of new teachers, a lot of student teachers do fall into the too nice category. For the second thing that we had talked about when I was talking with my coworker, a lot of new teachers and a lot of student teachers take things very personally. They haven't built that tough outer shell yet. And so any small mistake really almost cuts them to the heart. So new teachers and student teachers spend a long time on lesson preparation. They do research. They find things that they feel will interest the students. And if it doesn't work, they take that as if they're a failure as a teacher. And I am here to tell you that every teacher has had innumerable lessons that totally fell flat. It doesn't matter how experienced you are, how good of a teacher you are. That doesn't matter at all. Your students have good and bad days. Your students have different personalities. What works for one class won't necessarily work for another class in the same way. What works for one class on one day may not work for that very same class on the next day. It's this evolving organism. And you just need to kind of ride the roller coaster with them. So don't take things personally. Try and figure out and break down what went right, what went wrong. Okay, it may have been a perfect lesson and it just was a bad day for everyone. So don't take things personally. If you have done your best to organize a lesson, that is a win, and you will learn how to adjust as you go and change things in the middle of a lesson. If you are reading something in your students, you're going to come up with ideas on how to do things differently. So, for new teachers, for student teachers, and even for those of us who have been teaching for a very long time, we need to recognize we shouldn't take things personally. New teachers and student teachers many times fall into the trap of trying to get the approval of the students in the class. And you don't need their approval. You need to be a teacher for them. Whether or not they approve isn't an issue. If you are giving them quality material and you are challenging them and you are keeping them safe, you are giving them a classroom where they feel safe to be themselves and to take chances, they may not like you, and that's okay. Don't fall into the trap of trying to get the students' approval, because they're very young and that approval is going to fly in and out of the window based on how they feel at any second. So it's not reliable and it's not something you should place your confidence in. If you are doing a good job, if you are teaching them, and if you are caring for them, then their approval is nice, but it's not something you really need to court. Find comfort in how you feel about yourself, and the kids will follow. Number 4 goes along a little bit with number 3, and that is the class is going to act completely different if you are in there by yourself or if your mentor teacher is in there when you're student teaching. And they are going to act so much better when the mentor teacher is in there while you're student teaching. If you were a new teacher and you were able to have that teaching experience when you student taught, and I understand some mentor teachers actually have a difficult time giving their class aside, but you should have had a month or more of actual in front of the class teaching time. And I'll be putting out a video later about what you as a student teacher should expect from a mentor teacher. But that class knows their mentor teacher. They've had a relationship, possibly several years long, with that mentor teacher. And when you take over the class, if that teacher is sitting in there, they are going to behave a certain way, usually fairly well. When that teacher steps out, they are going to act more like you're a substitute teacher than a student teacher. And we all know how subs are treated. Again, don't take this personally, but recognize that it will happen. You need to develop your own method of classroom management. Now, as a student teacher, what's going to probably work best is kind of mirroring your mentor teacher style. But as you do that, find out how it feels when you do that, and then you can modify on your own. One thing I do suggest to new teachers coming in is they set boundaries right away. Do not come in and start the year with new students without having boundaries set, because it's really hard to draw those lines after people have already crossed them. So recognize as you're student teaching that you will have challenges when you are up in front of the class that the mentor teacher does not have. You don't have that relationship with the students yet, and you don't have the confidence in front of a class. And that just comes with time. Also, you will have throughout your career students that just don't respond. And it's okay. It is absolutely okay. So number 5 of what student teachers tend to do that is just not going to work. When you're making your lesson plans, you overplan and put so much into that one day. There is no way you're going to get through all of it. And when you don't complete your lesson plan in a single day, that's going to come back on you as a feeling of failure. I actually had a student teacher one time have like 10 different pages of notes that they thought they were going to get through in 2 days. And they were kind of shocked when I told them they're probably going to get through a half page, maybe a full page on some of the smaller ones in a day. And you are going to learn that you need to be able to be flexible. Some days are great, and some days you will get much more done than you thought you would. But in the beginning, I promise you, you were over planning. Especially if you were asking the students to do any amount of writing of notes, because they write so unbelievably slow. So make sure that you work time in for that, because you are going to be standing and waiting as they get caught up with you. The 6th thing that a lot of student teachers and new teachers are really not very good at is waiting in silence. You have to be able to pause, and you have to be able to give the students time, first of all, to think about your question, and second, to get the courage up to try and answer. And one of the things I like to do is scan the classroom and kind of count to 3 or 5 in my head, whatever I feel like might be the amount of time they need. And then I'll kind of look around and say, anyone? Any options? And I'll look around again, and I'll wait another second or two. And depending on the class, depending on the question, I might call on somebody. But usually by then I have 1 or 2 people who are willing to give it a try. And they'll raise their hand. And when somebody answers, if it's an incorrect answer, recognize it as, that's a good answer. It's not quite what I'm looking for. You're in the ballpark. This part of it is correct. Does anyone else want to add to that? And so you don't tell somebody just right off the bat, you're wrong, and go on to the next one. Support them. Let them know that, that's a good answer. Whether or not it's completely off base or not, you can usually find something good about it. And then as you get used to the students and as they get used to you, they will start answering more quickly. But don't be afraid of the silence. Kind of let it linger. They'll come around. Number 7 is actually kind of what got this conversation started between me and my coworker. New teachers feel like they're breaking the subject down. Okay, they feel like they have it in the little bite-sized morsels that we are told to do. I promise you, you have not broken it down enough. Break it down into small parts. Look at it and break it down some more. And then look at that and break it down some more. And be ready to repeat yourself over and over and over again. Just be ready for that. You need to have one tiny baby step at a time. Write this. Carry this over here. And show them specifically how to write things out. I'm going to be posting a video on how I teach dimensional analysis and scientific notation. and I will have the students use graph paper to get things lined up. You need to think about the fact that their writing is awful. They can't read their own handwriting. So using things like graph paper to give them columns is a huge help. But I promise you, however small you feel you have broken down the pieces to feed the students on the information, it's not small enough. Go back through and make it smaller and smaller. Number 8, I mentioned a little bit in number 7, but I'm going to bring it here as a standalone because I don't think substitute teachers and new teachers realize how much we have to do this. And that is repeat what you have said. You will give instructions, you will think that they are clear, and as soon as you say, are there any questions, somebody will say, what did you say? Or what did I do? And you will repeat yourself. You will write them on the board. You will give examples. You will draw lines and arrows and all kinds of diagrams to get the point across. And then you will have to start over and repeat the entire thing. And once you get them working on their own, you are going to have to go to each and every person and make sure that they actually understand what they're supposed to do. And you'll probably have to repeat the instructions to about half of the class. And that is what we do. And when they ask for help, you're going to repeat again because they will probably be doing it wrong. You spend all day long repeating yourself. Now, if you have different courses, like I teach 7th grade life science and 8th grade physical science, so I have kind of that split. But I have taught the same class all day long. And that is horrible. You have no clue who you've told what. You are just repeating yourself over and over and over again for 9 hours. So get used to saying the same thing over and over again. And if you lose track of what you've said, you may want to keep a running list on the counter as to who you've told what. But get ready to repeat yourself a lot. Number 9, in mistakes that many new teachers and student teachers make, you don't recognize the small victories. You're expecting big victories, and big victories very rarely happen. Big victories almost never happen. I have been waiting years to have to dye my hair pink. I finally this year had a class where every single person passed the unit test without corrections and without extra credit, and they got to pick the color of my hair. But it did not happen overnight. It did not happen the first year I offered it, or the second, or the third, or the fourth. It's taken years. So don't wait for big victories. Celebrate the little victories. Somebody who has never asked a question asks you a question in class. They raise their hand and they speak out. That is a big victory, even though you don't recognize it. Keep that in your heart. So-and-so spoke out. Somebody actually turned in their homework. That is a victory. You get an email from a parent saying so-and-so was talking about science at the dinner table last night. That is a victory. Celebrate the little victories. Do not expect big ones because they really don't happen very often at all. And if you wait around for them to happen, you are really going to feel like you aren't doing anything. So enjoy the small victories. Celebrate them. And really, the small victories tend to be the most important ones. So enjoy them and make sure you notice them. Number 10 on this list kind of wraps up the previous 9. It's something I wish I had done when I started teaching, and I have never done it. But looking back, I wish I had journaled. And I truly believe now, looking back on 24 years of teaching, that teachers should keep journals. I think that you should put several things into it. How did your day go? What were some of the things you found challenging? What were some of the things that made you smile? And they don't have to be curriculum related. It can be your heater in your classroom was working. That sometimes is a huge thing. Also, we tend to focus on the negative. So if you are journaling and if you are feeling down, you can go back and you can read those pages that you've written. And you can see, okay, I faced something like this and I got through it. And also, there have been good times. So by journaling, you write down those small victories I talked about. You write down things that may or may not have worked. You write down how long it took for students to do something. So the next year, when you're scheduling, you know how long to put in the calendar. Journaling can be very therapeutic. It can be very helpful. And as I said, it is something I wish that I had done. I never have been a big journaler, but I do think it would have been nice to have a record of the years. So those are the top 10 mistakes that we came up with. And again, this video is kind of short and sweet and a little bit rushed because, like I said, I just came in from work, and before I forgot, I thought I'd get this taped and out. But if you have any others that you think that new teachers and student teachers, small mistakes that they may be doing, please put them in the comments. Also, if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. I really would like to help the channel grow and get this out to people who might find it useful. So many teachers are getting burned out and feeling alone, and I really would like to give teachers support so that more highly qualified people stay in the career, and also those people who are entering give it a chance instead of feeling totally fried after just 1 or 2 years. I hope that we can stop the attrition rate in teaching and give the students the stability they deserve. So again, please like and subscribe, please comment below, and share this with your friends if you find it useful. As always, I hope the week ahead is a wonderful one. Thank you.